My Bradford City player of the year for the 2024-2025 season is Neil Byrne. Obviously, we all know my opinions on Neil, and he's been fantastic this season. But I'm not a clown, and I'm not giving him a player of the season. Unfortunately, he's up there. He's up there. Like I say, he's not as bad as people have always made out this season. Did score an own goal on Saturday, but it can't be helped, and he wasn't the only one. So, unfortunately for Neil, that wasn't a good thing of his that can go on his CV from this season. But only started 20 games as well, so can't exactly give him that award. But it's got to be consistency. So let me know yours in the comments down below, and you'll find out mine later on in the video. But it's been, to this point, a successful season. We are where we would have wanted to be. If you told me that we're in the top three come the Easter weekend in April, I'd have bitten your hand off for it. And that's how we've got to look at it going into his final 4 games that are huge. And I've never known 4 games like it in my Bradford City supporting history of this is huge, we could get promoted automatically. It's absolutely pivotal, vital that we can get over this line. And unfortunately, one of the players who is definitely a candidate for player of the season isn't going to play a part in 3 of them. Richie Smallwood, obviously with his red card on Saturday. Has that impacted your position on who you think should get player of the season for this season? And you'll find out if it has for me. But I'm going to start off at the back with Sam Walker. I'm not going for everyone, but I feel like he's not up there, but he deserves to be getting a recommendation and an appreciation, because at the start of the season he made a few mistakes. We all know the Carlisle, he made quite a few. But this second half of the season, with the run of clean sheets we had to the end of January to March, the penalty save he made against Colchester, Crewe, and a big save he made against Colchester at 2-1. He's made a number of huge saves across this season, and he's been a big part of the team and his character, so I think he deserves a lot of appreciation, but he's not a huge candidate, but like I say, I think he deserves that to be talked about more. In the back line, obviously Jack Shepard, he's been talked about a lot across the board in the EFL and League 2 this season, because he has been possibly the best centre back in League 2. He's been confident on the ball, very composed. He likes to bring it into the midfield areas and overlap, and that's what required of him. But defensively, he looks so calm. He never panics. I think at the beginning of his City career, obviously, he hasn't really had that sort of thrust into first team action, demanding of a promotion. He's still very young, and he won it at Pontefract a few years ago, but he's took into this high expectation, high pressure situation at Bradford City so well. The free kicks he wins, it's his trademark move, and he's just been absolutely phenomenal for us. So he's definitely up there, but he don't quite get it, because he has had a few shaky games. Obviously, give the penalty away at Tranmere, and he had that a heartbreaking day at Swindon, and I must say I hope he's recovered well from that. I dish out my criticism, but he's been posted all over social media with the own goal, then with Harry Smith absolutely smashing into his back, which was cowardly, when he's turned his back. He then got goaded by 3 Swindon players, so it was a terrible day for him, and he's been then pasted all over social media, and everyone's had an opinion on him. And then I've also tried saying that he's had a part and sort of deserved it, when I've seen nothing but of the like. So he obviously had a day that probably would have been tough to get over without all that went on, obviously losing 5-4, so I hope he's recovered well from that, because he's been a fantastic player for us this season, and we're going to need him in these final 4 games. But he don't quite get it for me. And then in the midfield, the issue again I have with Pattison and Sarcevic and Poynton. Poynton's only started 23 games this season, which was quite a surprise to me, because he's not really someone who's had a lot of injuries. He obviously picked up that knock recently. He didn't really get into a team that first month of the season, considering how well he played at the back end of last season. But I'm trying to think, he's played nearly half of the games, so I don't really know where that's quite come from, that he's only started half, but he has, and he's still got around 10 goals and assists, equally, about 5 goals and 5 assists. I think he's got some really good goals as well, and he's a special talent, but I don't think he's been our best player this season. But certainly in terms of importance, he's right up there because his technical and individual ability and talent can go much further than anyone in this squad. And then Patterson and Sarcevic, the issues I have with them is again fitness, and Patterson's had it throughout his time at Bradford in these last 2 years, and if he wasn't injured last season and for the majority of this season as well, we'd have been promoted both times. I 100% believe that, because he's an extra man in midfield. The goals he scores is that midfield have been craving for years, all energy, and it's impossible not to love him. With 6 goals and 2 assists in 20 starts, and in Sarcevic as well, he's got 5 goals and 4 assists in 16 starts, which again, 16 starts for a player of Sarcevic's ability and quality. Again, composure on the ball. He doesn't hurry a pass. He keeps hold of it, and he's just got that ability to pick pockets, to run into space, to make the decoy runs. And the disappointing thing, again, which probably comes onto a different video maybe, but the fact that Smallwood, Point and Patterson and Sarcevic have only started 4 games this season together, and it's probably going to end at that way, maybe 5 if we're lucky, and if it only goes to the 46 games and we don't end up in the playoffs because of Smallwood's red card against Swindon missing the 3 games, it's quite, it's damning to look at really, in terms of not only fitness but it's just disappointing, because you just know where we'd have been, because we won all those 4 games and quite convincingly as well. The Walsall 3-0 win, the 3-1 against Grimsby as well. We've had our best performances with them 4 in midfield, and if we had them for 46 games, I think it'd be well more than done. But that's not to say I'm blaming the squad for that, because if we had the squad like we had last season with the injuries we had, well, that's why we're struggling at the bottom half. The whole squad's massively improved, but if you're missing, Point and Patterson and Sarcevic and not playing week in, week out, they're players who win league titles for you and dominate opposition for you. Whereas the others, the more average players, there's no understating that, and I think they'll know that themselves, and they'll look at the standards that them 4 players have in and off the dressing room. It's light years, and the goals they've scored, the assists they've had, and the positions to pick up in midfield, and that's why Richie Small's my player of the season. He runs our team, he runs our midfield, and there's no doubt in my mind that he probably runs that dressing room as well. He's 34 years of age, and that's where the experience and the disappointment from Saturday kicks in. Of 34 years of age, played so many games in the Championship, and he makes a stupid tackle like that. But for 42 games of this season, he's been available for 42 games. Forget yellow card suspended, forget that red card again, and Swindon, that's the only one where he's missed through suspension. That's this Swindon game. And then the injuries, I don't think he's picked up an injury whilst he's been at Bradford City through 3 seasons. And there were only last season when people were telling me that he's one of the worst captains we've ever had at this football club, and it were a common opinion. It wasn't from me. I'm not saying that's one up, because I said Callum Kavanagh might be the reason why we don't get promoted this season. He then scores 4 goals or 5 goals in those last 2. We have our opinions, we get them wrong. But he got booed as well this season when he was taking the penalty. I think I can't remember it again, so I think it were Bromley, wasn't it? He stepped up to take a penalty, he got booed onto the penalty spot, and then he scored it. He's proved people wrong this season and last season under Alexander. Yes, he wasn't great under Mark Hughes. I think he was an outstanding player who looked distinctly average for League 2 level, but Alexander's grabbed him by the horns and he's got him playing to the way that suits him best, and he's been the best midfielder in League 2 this season, and he's been our best player this season because he holds down that midfield. He picks up the right spaces, he stops the midfield runners, he does his work where you would not notice the things he does. He runs that midfield, he picks out passes that you can't see. He plays great diagonals, he plays at our tempo and our speed, our intensity, he gets us going. I've seen him this season build his own players up. I've seen him get his arm around some players. I've seen him dig some players out. I've seen him step up in the media interviews, which he hasn't done previous this season. Even dig Mark Hughes out earlier in the Sun this season, which I'm not a big fan of, but he spoke his mind. We all know that Mark Hughes didn't get the best out of Richie Smallwood and a few other players at the football club at that time in 2022-2023. Richie Smallwood has been fantastic for us, phenomenal for us, and he's been a player that, again, a bit like Patterson, where we haven't had that midfield player since maybe Vince a lot, but I'd say he's been better than Vince a lot, and I haven't seen enough of Gary Jones in my life, but he's matched him, or at least got as close to him as you possibly could in a modern day. As we saw with that red card, it is a red card, it's a ridiculous tackle. 20 years ago, would it have been? It wouldn't have been a red. But that's where the game's evolved, and you're not going to get that midfielder who breaks someone's legs and don't get sent off for it. You're not going to get a midfielder who wins the ball, falls through, and he does it all game. You know, you can't have those players anymore. You have to adapt, and as fans, you've got to as well, knowing you're not going to get that ball winner who puts in 10 dangerous tackles a game and don't get a yellow card. That's never going to happen. Smallwood has put in a number of those sorts of tackles, probably got away with a couple, but he's been so good at timing them right, and he's stepped up, he's led by example, he's been a warrior for us, a soldier for us, and he's emulated what a Bradford City player is, and a Bradford City leader and captain up until Saturday. And that's why one poor tackle, one bad decision, we've all made one, across 42 games, for that to be his only bad game, his only bad decision, that shows to me he deserves this player of the season, because he's been phenomenal, and he is the reason why we are where we are and why we would get promoted if we do get promoted, because we've had a captain like him, a leader like him, and someone who controls that midfield and does all the work that you don't see. And he's, like I say, he's been captain fantastic as Richie Small this season, and definitely deserves all the praise that he's been getting over the last few months, certainly. Most tackles made than anyone in the EFL, and definitely my player of the season. But you may disagree. Who is your player of the season? Is there anyone who I haven't mentioned who you think could be up there? Maybe Aidan Baldwin for his fantastic diagonal passes and his role that he's played at the back in terms of the clean sheets that he's had as well, and his composed defending, or anyone else who I still have yet to mention. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like the video if you do want to do so, and subscribe if you're new on the road to 900 subscribers. Rate away. A lot of you who watch aren't subscribed, so it would be massively appreciated if you do. And have a good one.